Hey guys, it's me, Jared.
And this is Brandon.
Today we're coming at you with a discussion of Avengers 4, The Endgame.
That's not Avengers 4, that's Highlander 4, dude.
Oh yeah, I guess it's about the same thing happens in both
true.
movies. I mean, it's the same thing.
For centuries, immortals have moved silently among us, knowing that in the end there could be only one. But now, in this world, in this time,
I don't care about the game. I don't care about the rules.
a supernatural enemy has grown too strong for any immortal to face alone.
He surrounded himself by immortals loyal only to him.
There has never been a more powerful immortal.
They're the worst.
What has always been a fight for one
Neither one of us can beat him alone.
has now become a battle two must face
You and Connor are like brothers.
together.
Pretty good. Nice.
One of us has to die now, and you know it.
In all their centuries on Earth, nothing could have prepared them for the quickening.
Greetings, Highlander.
Christopher Lambert, Sean Connery,
Who knows, Highlander? Who knows?
Endgame.
We are just so thrilled to be talking about this movie because it is, and everybody's used this word, and I hate to sound cliche, but it's a culmination event.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, we've all been waiting for it for, never would I have dreamt that it would have, risen to these heights, I mean, who would have thought when we were sitting there watching Iron Man at Regency Cinema 8 that, 11 years later would be seeing, just dozens of Marvel heroes fighting Thanos.
I remember the big thing that was on my mind after I saw the original Iron Man was always like, oh, I'll be shocked if they actually do Captain America.
Yeah.
To think that I went from being shocked that they would actually do Captain America to now having 50 heroes on screen fighting it out at once, or well over that considering the grunts battle. But
this will be a spoiler filter.
Full on spoiler
discussion.
review.
By the way, it's been 2 weeks. If you've not seen it,
I
don't know what to say to you.
I think that I think the Russos actually said that they were giving people till Monday of the next week after the second weekend, and then it's
fair game.
Fair game. You can say whatever.
Fair game for Endgame.
Fair game for Endgame. Speaking of spoilers, I was in Walmart, and I guess you've been seeing some of this too, but now they have full-on Black Panther and Spider-Man toys are everywhere with Endgame on it. So I mean, why not? If you were going to see it, you were going to see it.
Exactly. Yeah.
But I guess the MCU leading up to this point has, I can hardly say a bad thing about it. I mean, seriously, there's been things that were unremarkable.
Yeah, the worst MCU movies are still just okay. You know what I mean? There's not been a terrible.
There's not been a horrible one, or even really a bad one necessarily.
They've dodged a bullet. Yeah, the closest thing to a bad movie has been Thor: The Dark World, and I think that's pretty universally accepted.
And this movie goes a little bit of a ways in trying to address, which was something I didn't expect.
No, didn't see that coming.
Speaking of unexpected, I think the beginning of the movie, it is such a unexpected way to take an opening for what is essentially Infinity War Part 2 in a way.
Yeah, you get the sort of action climax of the previous film in the first 10 minutes of this one.
Yeah.
It creates it helps to build up that somber mood too, I think, though.
Oh, absolutely.
Because it just caps off so anticlimactically, so with such melancholy,
Well, it's funny. I would probably compare it to the original idea that they were kind of floating around for Return of the Jedi's opening.
Yeah.
Which it would be this big, bombastic opening with the thud of an ending for the opening, which was Han Solo just dying.
Yeah.
When they try to get him out of the carbonite. It all goes wrong. And that's kind of how this feels, too. And I don't know about you, but I was just really impacted by the structure of the movie. I think it's got an incredible structure, and I've never seen anything like it.
Yeah, I mean, it certainly feels like a comic book maxi series, and that's in a good way. I mean, it feels like it's an 8 or 10 issue comic book storyline,
Right.
which is good. And I mean, I assume that's intentional.
Well, I sort of feel like Infinity War was structured like a novel in a way. Like, it seemed like chapters. Every time you would see the name of the planets, it seemed like they were switching to a new chapter. And the way that movie
changed gears to a different group of characters.
Yeah. And the way that it balanced so many different groups of characters was just, I guess, masterful is the right word. I've never seen anything like it. This movie doesn't have nearly as many characters to balance out at the beginning of the movie.
As the core cast.
Right. And I think that's much to the movie's benefit, too.
Yeah. It's interesting looking at them, side by side in terms of how they keep their characters separated. You have a film that's about groups of characters coming together, and then you have a film about how they sort of disseminate and go for their own small team objectives to accomplish the goal. So two different ways to focus on smaller groups at one time, which is good for the storytelling.
Right.
But you get completely different pairings of characters, which was refreshing. And a lot of the bizarre picks really worked. Something like Nebula and War Machine, which I would have never seen coming.
I never thought it would have worked.
Somehow it works really
And that's
well.
down to Don Cheadle making that work, I think. And Karen Gillan, of course, is very good.
Oh, yeah.
As Nebula as well. She brings a lot of spirit to that role. But I guess the easiest way to kind of, for me, to quantify where Endgame sets from a narrative perspective within the MCU is looking at Infinity War as kind of a, like a spiritual quest movie for the villain.
Yeah.
Like Thanos spends most of the movie in essentially his pajamas, I think the Russos compared it to one time, where he's kind of...
Let's be honest here. Controversial opinion. They did everything they could in Infinity War to make Thanos more like Darkseid. They make him look as much like Darkseid as they can.
The silhouette's there, for sure.
Exactly.
Just
the dome head and the bare arms, and So anyway, I'm just saying.
True.
I'm just saying, Infinity War Thanos is just Darkseid.
Yeah. And it's interesting, though, because you take this very kind of introspective movie that uses like this huge amount of characters in Infinity War as kind of to move the plot. Like, none of the characters have like a real... They're not explored like in a deep way, except for Thor. Thor is the one, that gets the
he has
the character arc.
Yeah. They are there, Captain America and Iron Man and, the Guardians are there and Spider-Man are there to propel the story.
Right.
They're there to relate
and that's done masterfully,
to,
by the way. Some of the best exposition scenes I've ever seen are in Infinity War.
Absolutely. And that is, reiterating information from previous films and trying to clarify information from previous films. What is and isn't an Infinity Stone, all that kind of stuff. Reminding the audience of things that they may not have seen. It's fascinating to think of the success that Infinity War and Endgame had. There are people who could not possibly have seen all of the movies that are seeing these.
I know people that did.
Oh, exactly. Yeah, me too.
And they were confused.
Oh, I guarantee it. Yeah.
I was talking to somebody a little while back, and they had seen Endgame the other day, and they just told me, they said, said it was good, but I just really struggled to understand like all the time travel stuff, like why they were going to different spots. So I would very much argue with anyone, and this is not something that I'm saying to throw the movie under the bus. I'm going to have a strong argument for anyone who tries to imply that Endgame somehow stands on its own or can be taken. It doesn't.
Not at all.
This is a cap-off event movie. It doesn't work without the other chapters. I mean, it just doesn't. It's nothing against the movie, and it was never designed to work on its own.
Exactly,
This is, the 22nd movie?
I think so,
Yeah, I believe it's Marvel 22. We're just going to start going at that.
Infinity Saga number 22.
That's right.
22.
That's it. So the structure is just so different for Infinity War coming into this movie. For one thing, shocking, there was an audible gasp in the theater I was in when everybody just, I don't know, I think everyone was just reeling when Thor goes for the head.
Yeah,
just immediately decapitates Thanos.
The dogpile on Thanos. And
I mean, I was just, at first, I was shocked with his hand being cut off, and then it was like,
oh, look. It's a great vision. I mean, it's a great beat to go for, honestly. I mean, and it helps to. It's that cathartic moment you're looking for following in Infinity War, but then doesn't really make you feel anything.
It doesn't really make you feel any better.
Exactly.
Matter of fact, it's kind of horrifying.
Yeah. So there's a lesson for you.
And then Thor himself. I think it's interesting because I really thought that, okay, Thor's whole redemption journey was in Infinity War. And I thought, well, I'm not seeing Thor much in marketing materials for Endgame, so I bet he's just not in the movie much. There's not much about him.
It's kind of there.
No, it wasn't it.
Were you wrong?
It turns out Thor's art from Infinity War, which was so well done, because you have somebody at the end of the rope who loses everything, who fights tooth and nail to get it all back, and returns in glory in the Wakanda battle, and he's fighting everybody, and he's doing great.
Back to classic Thor.
And then I thought, okay, well that's it. No, the rest of the arc is that he's totally broken by failing to kill Thanos. I should have seen something like that coming, but I could have never seen Fat Thor coming.
Yes.
God bless Fat Thor.
Hashtag Fat Thor forever.
Fat Thor is the best Thor.
Fat Thor is the best Thor.
That's right.
Absolutely.
He is. And there's so much I can say just about Fat Thor alone. But I think the marketing for this movie was just so great because, they didn't spoil anything about the movie.
Yeah.
They did not give away any of their hands on this movie. And I am thankful for that.
Yes.
Because I hate being spoiled on these movies with a trailer that explains everything to me.
From structural ideas to, character looks to cameos, they did such a great job keeping everything under wraps.
A recent example, the movie's not out yet at the time of this recording, but X-Men Dark Phoenix, I think it's totally been ruined by the huge amount of... Not that I cared much anyway, because I'd say the movie won't be very good. I love the Fox X-Men film, but this is probably not going to be too great.
Especially by comparison now, it's going to struggle to even be okay.
Yeah, it's
now that everybody's seen Endgame.
It's going to struggle.
Yeah.
But they've given away everything. I saw an IMAX preview for X-Men Dark Phoenix that was with Endgame.
Oh, yeah.
And they give away even more.
Well,
the whole opening of the movie is basically given away, the space opening.
There's been 6 trailers now or something, because they keep pushing it back.
It's insane. They just keep doing more trailers. And you know what? Honestly, probably the smartest thing they could do is promote it to death and convince people they need to see it.
Yeah, exactly.
But that's a whole nother discussion. What do you think about the emaciated Tony Stark that comes back at the beginning of the movie?
It's a great effect. I'm sure accomplished very much like skinny Steve Rogers from the first Avenger.
It's kind of horrifying.
It is very terrifying. Yeah, a little space madness setting in. And even more horrifying is the confrontation between him and Cap when they get back to Earth.
Oh, man.
It gets back to that extreme discomfort from the original Avengers movie, when they're really at odds with each other.
Some of the dialogue there is just so many great callbacks to Civil War. And it really gives the impression that the Russos had and if they didn't, they've done a great job giving the illusion that they did, had an incredible battle plan, it seemed like, for everything that they emotionally wanted to happen. You have Tony Stark doing the whole, I don't know, he's feeling, I guess, vindictive as he's giving the whole, I was trying to put a suit of armor around the world kind of thing, and
Well, I like the way that it plays out because, they, Captain Marvel and Tony and Nebula get back to Earth, and, Cap comes out to meet them, and they sort of embrace, and it's sort of, I was sort of thinking, is that it? I
thought that there was just going to be,
there's not going to be a conflict,
right.
And that boy, did it turn out well? But I don't think they overmilked that.
No.
I don't think that. I think that stopping there and giving you the passage of time, allows you to understand, that would all heal a little bit more.
Oh yeah, it seems more plausible. He also has that great line. What does he say? He says, "I've got nothing for you, Cap."
Yeah, I got nothing for you, Cap. Yeah, something like that.
And nobody could deliver dialogue like that except for Robert Downey Jr. Not in the way that he did it.
Yeah.
It was just spiteful and masterfully performed.
Yes.
He was, I gotta say, Robert Downey Jr., I don't think I ever saw him any better than he was in Endgame.
Oh, he's so good.
He was...
It's the best turn
incredible.
for so many of these performers. It's their best version.
It's the best
performance of these characters.
Same can be said of Chris Evans with Captain America. I think this is his strongest moment as Cap. I mean, this is...
Well, we were talking about Cheadle earlier, certainly for him.
And,
Paul Rudd, best goes Ant-Man,
very best.
For sure.
But what do you think about the time jump?
The 5-year gap?
Yeah, the 5 years.
Yeah, I expected there to be something.
Right.
Speaking to the movie's structure, I thought that, it maybe didn't pick up with a time jump, so I didn't really know. But I like it. And again, I think that it gives you enough time. 5 years is enough time to sort of to let ideas be understood rather than having to over-explain them, And again, I think that if you do it in real time, if the movie, if their plan had developed, 6 months later, I think there would be too much time dedicated to explaining how the world is putting itself back together. There'd be all sorts of, weird political, social undertones. And I mean, we get little hints of that stuff, but I think it would have bogged the movie down if they had stayed in relatively present time. So I think it was the right move because you can just sort of jump over that stuff.
I think there's some. I guess one way you could look at it is they just broom a lot of that stuff and get it out of the way really quick, to where they can move forward with the narrative. But I think that would be kind of underselling it a little bit if you just look at it like that. I sort of think that it gives a sense of dramatic dissonance. I guess is there's now this. The world feels like a shell.
They basically all had time to accept it.
Right.
But have they really accepted it?
You know, some of the very best scenes in the movie is when Black Widow and Cap are together in like Avengers headquarters. She's just eating a sandwich, and he's like, "Hey, you know, I just come to check on you," and it just feels so melancholy. I mean, it's wonderful.
You know, it's and again, it's like a lot of movies or any movie that speaks to you. You know, it begs the question. You know, put yourself in that situation, and how would you react to it? You know, you know, who knows? So I like that we get those character beats. You know, it's you know, if you don't see your heroes broken down and defeated, then what do they really accomplish by the end of it?
I was enamored by the idea that a rat could
save the universe
by hitting the button.
Exactly.
And the time travel van, I guess we'll say.
The
quantum van.
The PIM mobile.
But I thought that was great. But, you know, even more, I was, I don't know, I was taken aback by the whole idea about Cassie. You know, him, you know, Paul Rudd, Ant-Man searching for Cassie's name, on the memorial. Mm-hmm. It was just, I don't know, it really got me, you know. I don't know. Cassie was one of those things that really, really, really worked about Ant-Man and the Wasp.
Oh, big time.
I mean, like, really works. And that was, Paul Rudd really sold that, man, like a lot. You can tell he's a real dad, you know, in the movie when he's delivering these scenes, like, you know.
Well, I think you know, if you look at these films in the grand scheme of things, Ant-Man's hero is Captain America, and it gives him sort of his mini Captain America experience.
Well, sure, man out of time. That's it.
So he comes back to his life, you know, years
later.
That's a great point. Not as many years later, but I think it's it's a very good move for that character.
One of my favorite scenes in the whole movie is when he finds Cassie. And there's that great exchange, and it's that brilliant line where he says, "You're so big." It's funny, and it's sweet, and it's sad, and it's, you know, it's everything, you know. And this movie, I think that's how I could describe it. This movie is a little bit of everything.
Absolutely, yeah. You know, the movie in general is much funnier than I thought it would be.
Oh yeah.
I really expected it to be more of a general downer.
You know, Civil War is much funnier than it ever had any right to be. You know, and it works, and it's all because the Russos come from a TV comedy background. That's it. The structure, of course, the movie then kicks off into a time heist structure for the whole middle portion. And how do you feel about how they handled the time travel?
You know, I like the. I'm a little touch and go with that because I don't know if they explain their rules thoroughly enough, you know. And I think that even with the rules that they've explained, I think that there's still some back doors and some issues with what they do. But I like them doing something different. I mean, I think time travel's been done to death. I mean, I would say time travel's been done pretty definitively, you know, as a storytelling mechanism with lots of things. So I'm glad to see something a little bit different. And it just, you know, I'm less concerned with the science of the time travel. I think so many people are caught up in the logistics and the science of the time travel and the rules, not to just appreciate it as a you know,
plot
device, you know, a way to tell the story. You know, you need Infinity Stones. Where are you going to get Infinity Stones? And I think calling it time travel is sort of just a quick way of explaining it, and they make fun of it being such a you know, sort of quick idea in the movie. You know, really what we're talking about is interdimensional travel, you know. They're visiting other parts of reality that are existing non-simultaneously, I guess. So, you know, it's a cool way to take it. And I also think that this will be a trendsetter. I think we'll see lots of time travel films. I think these will be the new rules of time travel in lots of mainstream time travel movies. I think they'll have a big impact on what we do.
I think I agree with your sentiments there about the time travel aspect of the movie. I love that they did it. I felt slightly confused during the movie by some of the time travel as it was happening. That's never a pleasant feeling when you're slightly confused by something. So, and I'm not trying to throw shade at the movie or anything. I think that they do what they can to explain some of the time travel rules. But I guess I've always kind of struggled with alternate reality time travel. I've always liked Back to the Future, affect the present time travel because it seems more simple.
It's very linear and very easy to understand.
Totally linear. Yeah. And there's so many branching paths. At one point, literally in the movie, you have the Ancient One show the branching paths using
just like Doc Brown and the chalkboard.
Yeah,
and Back to the Future.
And I mean, it works enough to hold the movie together, and it's never so bad that it's like distracting to the plot. But there is, it eats at you a little. There's kind of wondering, exactly how does that work? Because they said that here's my one little thing is okay. They're supposed to be able to go back to those points in time, right? He convinces the Ancient One, Bruce Banner, by saying, "We'll just go back and we'll give you this.
We'll replace the stones for the moment we get them."
Okay, how would you go back to be able to do that without creating another branch reality? You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Like, wouldn't it just splinter again?
Yeah. Well, and there's all the questions of, there's obviously an alternate reality now where Thanos is dead and he doesn't collect the Infinity Stones to set the whole thing in motion.
Yeah,
to begin with.
It's
and the Captain America thing at the end is a big quandary too. So again, best not to think too hard about it.
And the one problem is, the Russos have now had to explain some of the stuff in interviews.
Yeah,
it's probably not good.
That's not a good
thing. They
thing.
had to explain it, but But other than that, I don't. I feel that it works for the movie, and it's just so much fun. The idea of the time heist and all that cool stuff where they're in the neat quantum realm suits and Captain America, they all get on the big pad.
The marketing suits.
Yeah, the marketing suits, so they could sell new toys. And
you get a whole new
half of it's not even real that you see in the trailers. And there's Fat Thor, and who's also in a suit. And he was, it's all a lie. The figures.
Yeah.
But when Captain America gives like the motivational speech and they all put their hands in, it's just so much fun. It's
brilliant.
It's just, I love it.
Super. They've reached the point where it's just pure comic book. They're so they've explored all these ideas and these elements, these characters, and it's now every frame of these films is now just like pure comic book goodness. You don't have to have a lot of levity to work people into these notions anymore.
Well, Endgame is more fun than I thought that it was going to be.
Oh,
like
very
you
much
said,
so.
it's not only funnier than we thought, but it's just it had
a
more
little bit more rip-roaring, adventurous.
Yeah, it felt more like an old serial or something sometimes with some of this pulpy stuff that's in the movie. And I really like that. I think that the whole time heist section works really well, but we haven't even discussed some of where the characters are at. What about the Hulk? I mean, the Smart Hulk, did that take you aback to see how far they went with it? Or?
I expected it. I mean,
right.
They've explored so many ideas. It doesn't seem that out of place.
Right.
I think if this was the third movie that this version of the Hulk had appeared in, it would have been strange. But
yes.
I think that they went a long way. I mean, how much can you do with the classic Hulk? And again, like he was Smart Hulk at this point in the early '90s when these comic books were going on. That's what we had, And I love the nod of him in the black tank top when they get back to 2012.
Love it.
Yeah, I mean, we were kids when the Smart Hulk thing was going on.
Yep, that was the Hulk of my childhood, from the comics. So.
Yeah, and so I appreciate exploring the fullness of these characters, and even if there's people who can't deal with something like Smart Hulk, it was a big, at least to us, that was a big part of the character's history. So, I was really glad to see it, and I think it would work well. And like many ideas from the movie, it all comes down to the performance. Ruffalo is just so good. I mean, he sells it completely.
Oh, yeah, and I think that the whole scene in the Pancake House, wherever they're at, whatever diner, is just brilliant because the camera...
Come on, get some of these eggs.
It just lingers, on Smart Hulk for so long, and it helps.
He looks so photoreal.
I mean, it's one of the very best CGI characters I've ever seen. It really looks like Ruffalo.
It's just
kind of
like a big green Ruffalo is just sitting there.
He's just sitting there.
And I think they make him a little more Ruffalo-y.
Yeah.
To sell the idea.
Right.
That he's intelligent.
And then all of the time travel goof ups that he does in those scenes where he's taking Ant-Man and he's making him old and a baby and all that.
Time travel. We did.
It's time travel. It's a success.
Yeah.
It's Ruffalo. I think the Russos probably understood more, and I think Taika went a long way in this too.
Oh, yeah.
Understanding how to let Ruffalo more be himself in the role. I think if you go back and watch the first Avengers, now I think that Ruffalo seems a little stilted compared to what that he would do. And he was great.
He's good.
He's one of the very best ones.
But he's very stiff.
But he loosens up and they let him be himself. And the same exact thing can be said about Chris Hemsworth.
Oh yeah.
So I think that a lot of credit has to be given to Taika for how Taika Waititi was able to take Ragnarok and loosen up Thor and Hulk a little bit.
Yeah, take the starch out of the collars.
Right. And
take away some of their dignity.
Yes.
Dignity is the enemy of
fun.
Of fun.
That's right. Don't have dignity.
Yeah.
I mean, let's just have a blast.
Yeah.
You know. And this movie goes a long way in taking the rest of Thor's dignity away.
Yes.
So let's Big Lebowski Thor, that's the next character I want to talk about, is Dude Thor is so incredible.
Drunk Thor.
There was, I mean, people in the theater I was at, when it's revealed, you know, that he's fat and he's let himself go, it was just, oh my God.
Oh, no,
you can hear everybody whispering to each other.
Every woman swooning over Hemsworth in the audience let out a collective gasp. They just couldn't stay.
I've heard some things from some folks that were not, some ladies that were not too happy.
Yes, they were
very upset.
Yeah.
They were particularly upset that the lightning bolt strikes Thor at the end and he gets his costume and he doesn't automatically get fit.
Yeah,
they all thought it was going to happen.
He doesn't
lose
100
And I was like, yes, commit.
There's no reason. His again, and this sentiment's been echoed. His worthiness and his status as a hero has nothing to do with his appearance.
That's right.
You know? And I love it.
People were trying to say that the movie was like fat shaming or something.
It's the most body positive thing that I've seen in a mainstream movie ever.
Hemsworth, by far the biggest specimen in the Avengers cast in terms of being physically fit, and doing that to him shows a lot of strength for not only the character but for Hemsworth's performance. I mean, he's gold, man. And they have unlocked Hemsworth's ability. Taika unlocked it, man.
Yeah.
And Hemsworth himself, I think, is responsible for a lot of the positive changes with Thor because he was somebody who really pushed hard to get those kinds of changes.
Well, there's a guy who's a real actor, and I think he's been struggling to act for years.
Right.
And it's just been given very few opportunities.
Everybody sees that pretty face, and they're like, we're going to let him do this. And Heath Ledger went through the exact same thing. He used to, his family, I've seen in interviews, said that he would basically be starving, because he wouldn't take these rom-com roles because he hated them.
Movies and stuff.
He didn't want to do them. Yeah. And these guys who are really hungry for something, good. I'm glad that he was able to find something good with this new version of Thor. I mean,
and he's got a big career. I mean,
huge. Men in Black International's coming down the pipeline.
Well, even as Thor, he's got so many appearances lined up.
Well, I heard that he re-upped his contract. They're
5
saying
more
now,
movies?
he's gonna
hit
it hard.
Thor 4. So, and again, he's the youngest guy out of the 3 principals. So I mean, you need one solid carryover from the old guard. And why not Thor?
In Infinity War, I was shocked by just how good the Guardians and Thor was together.
Oh yeah, brilliant.
And I don't know about anybody else, but in Infinity War, when Thor wakes up, on the ship with the Guardians, to me, that's a recreation of Cap waking up from the ice in the old 60s Avengers comics. Like, when he gets up, he's like, Bucky! And he panics, and he's, throwing everybody around. And it's the exact same thing with Thor.
Same idea.
They wake him up, and, he's panicked, he's looking for all of his people, and they explain, that goes through kind of an exposition scene. It's all brilliant. Mm-hmm. It's like a funny version of what happens with Captain America in the original comics. Yeah, and I loved it. But this movie does not disappoint. When they go to see Thor in New Asgard, it is incredible.
Oh, yeah.
Korg and Meek are playing Fortnite, and everybody's drunk, and it's just hilarious.
Be afraid to log on to the Wi-Fi.
But then you get right back to the drama, though. Like, he's not just a goofball character in the movie, because you have Bruce Banner, and he mentions Thanos' name. He's like, don't say that name. And it's really gets...
It's, and it's funny because it's so over the top, but I mean,
Right.
Jared and I had this discussion after we'd seen the movie the first time, and everybody would like to think that they would hold together like Captain America and Black Widow, but Thor's reaction to the whole situation is the most realistic.
Oh yeah,
that's what would happen to me. Like I'll tell you,
I'll tell you,
and not just to sound cool or funny, but like I'd turn into a mess.
I wouldn't do Thor. Instead, I would do Iron Man's reaction.
Oh yeah.
I would go to the woods, and me and Megan, we would go. We would have some kids, and we would have a normal life, and we would forget everything that happened, and I would never want to talk about it again or hear about it again. And it would just remind, and I would be like, I'm going to make the best out of what I got. And so what's great is that you have all these different avenues in the movie where you can see yourself and how you would like deal with everything. And every way that everybody deals with it is, flawed.
Yeah.
Which is, the fun part about it. So
Captain America's in denial, sort of.
Right.
Iron Man's avoiding the whole thing, and Thor is wallowing in self-pity.
And I think that all of us can see ourselves in one of those ways. I mean, I know how I would deal with a tragedy, Brandon. I would be stuck in the quantum realm for 5 years
until
and then I would get out,
and
then a rat would let me out. I mean, that's how I would deal with it. But yeah, the pairings that they do in all the different time heists are brilliant, and particularly I loved all the stuff. And I know this is going to be everybody's favorite in the original Avengers, flashback. It's so great.
Well, Redford's there, man.
Redford, you got Robert Redford, and I could not believe it. I thought of all the people. I thought they would be able to get Natalie Portman back, way before they would ever be able to get Robert Redford. But it's great. I just couldn't believe he was there.
Well, it adds all this extra context to Winter Soldier, which is terrific,
and it adds so much more context to Avengers.
Oh, yeah.
That, S.H.I.E.L.D. was heavily involved in the recovery at the end. You even get to see why Loki has that thing on his mouth, and none of it was really explained before.
A better explanation of how Hydra winds up with the staff at the beginning of Age of Ultron.
Oh, yeah. And great kind of callbacks and kind of poking fun at some of the costumes.
Yeah.
With the butt jokes about Captain America.
I'd love to see a supercut of the first Avengers movie with
all
this new stuff.
Oh, I would love it. I would
absolutely
love it. You even get to see Tony Stark take an extended look at Black Widow, which was hilarious. I'm glad they put that in there. Yeah. So many great things, though, in that flashback, and I did not expect Captain America to get into a fight with Avengers Cap in the old suit with the ear muffs and everything, which I never could understand. Was always very upset about that touch on the costume, especially in the art book, where you could see that they had fitted him with masks that had the ears open. And then they decided not to.
At least he doesn't have molded rubber ears like in the 90s movie.
Oh, gosh. Yeah. We still need to do a commentary on that.
Oh, that'd be great, yeah.
Yeah, I think that the Avengers Time Heist is probably for the original Avengers, is probably my favorite one, I guess.
Oh, yeah. Well, I really like the 1970s stuff.
Oh, yeah.
That's
great.
As far as the flashbacks to, or the revisiting of old films, the Avengers is the best, but the 1970s stuff's my favorite time travel beat in the movie.
Yeah.
And the Howard Stark stuff, young Michael Douglas.
Oh, yeah.
Well, my favorite little visual Easter egg in the movie is the Silver Age Ant-Man helmet, for sure.
Beautiful.
So, it really stuck out to me. And there's just some great, heavy emotional stuff in that scene. I think it's...
I love the thing where Steve kind of looks at Peggy from another room there. She's, I guess, nearly middle-aged at that point. But it's just, it's powerful stuff. I don't know. It's just a lot. They accomplish a lot with that whole flashback. It's one of, I call it a flashback, but it's one of great quality, and I think that it makes the emotional beats of the ending really work.
Yeah, well, it drives home a lot of the ideas, that you'll see come around full circle.
Absolutely. But yeah, I think that I really liked all the Dark World flashback material because it goes a long way in trying to legitimize some of that. I always thought Thor's mother's death, Rene Russo, was just needless. Yeah. Like meh.
Yeah.
And I remember when it happened, and I was watching the movie, and I thought,
they're just doing this to...
You're just doing it.
Yeah.
There's no reason for this to happen.
Yeah.
And I'm really glad that they were able to get her back for such a great, poignant scene because...
like I said, it's nepotism, right? Because it's the Rousseau brothers.
That's it, man. I got Rene Russo getting in there.
Their Aunt Renee.
Rene Russo, she ages very well. She seems like she's about always the same whenever I see her.
Yeah, no matter what.
The Thomas Crown Affair? What? But yeah, I really enjoyed that. And they even had some really funny ones like the opening for Guardians of the Galaxy where they're watching Star-Lord and he's doing like the crappy singing under his breath and the bad dancing and it without all the cinematography and the production value it just seems really garbagey.
Yeah, exactly. You see how kind of a ramshackle the whole thing is.
War Machine just hits him in the head once and he's down. Yeah. That's it.
And then there's the War Mirror sequence.
Right. Ooh.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the one that doesn't work for me.
No, it doesn't work for me at all.
It sort of works, but it sort of doesn't.
I don't. Well, to begin with,
It's my least favorite part of the movie.
Yeah, me too.
Mm-hmm.
The Red Skull stuff's all exactly the same, so kind of boring.
Why would they have him do exactly the same stuff?
I know, and I get it.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what he's supposed to do. He's been waiting for somebody,
Hmm.
and from his perspective, this is the first time. Probably not the first time, but
Right.
this is probably the first time in 20 years that somebody's been there. So, I get the repetitive idea.
They're supposed to be like mirrors of each other in both movies,
but doesn't make it any more interesting.
Doesn't make it more interesting. No, seen it all before. One of the most thrilling things from Infinity War was that sequence because you sort of couldn't believe it was happening.
Well, yeah.
Because, the Red Skull, I don't know, he's just one of those characters. You just thought, they're kind of done with him. I don't know why Cap wasn't the one that would have interacted with him.
Yeah, exactly.
A big moment,
Mhm.
and that seems like a wasted opportunity. But honestly, that's not even the problem with the scene. It's the whole idea of the sacrifice and what they do with it.
I don't know. I don't feel any gravity to it.
It didn't ring true. You know what the scene played like to me? It played like two self-important people arguing about
who's the most important,
who should make the biggest sacrifice, and who's like earned the biggest sacrifice.
Yeah.
Who's gonna have the big sacrifice scene? No, I want it. That doesn't ring true at all to me. I've heard the Russos justify it. I've heard what they said. They said, well, Natasha doesn't have any family, and the Avengers is it for her, so she would sacrifice everything to get that so that Hawkeye can keep his family. But narratively, it makes much more sense for Hawkeye to be the one.
Well, he's on the real redemption quest,
And he's the one that's fallen from grace, so badly. And Ronan in the movie is incredible.
Ronan is so cool.
I mean,
Hawkeye finally has something
I've
to
never
do.
cared at all about Renner Hawkeye, even though I really think he was great in
Yeah.
Age of Ultron, especially.
Yeah.
I think that Whedon did a lot of good things for him there.
Renner Hawkeye has always been cool, but it's
Yeah.
always been sort of a does he need to be there?
Right.
Kind of
It's
thing,
kinda,
Like, do you miss him for a second in Infinity War? No, not
really.
me anyway.
The opening of the movie, by the way, we'd be remiss if we didn't mention the pre-credits opening where, where Clint Barton is just with his family, on the farm. And
Velma disappears.
He just comes, Velma disappears. He just comes right back, and nobody.
Yeah.
It's handled so well.
It's terrifying.
And it's
like many
haunting.
things. There's lots of really scary stuff in the movie, very uncomfortable stuff in the movie.
Every time they show like the docks, it's really, really scary to me when all the ships are just kind of like setting and they're all like on top of each other. Also, I love the sequence where they're trying to see if the PEM particles will work for time travel, and they just send Clint back, and he runs into the house and he's like, "Hey!" And he's
trying to see everybody.
Goes away, and I mean that felt really, really. That has some gravity to it. I mean, it had some real heft, and it's a shame because this isn't Scarlett Johansson's fault at all that it doesn't work for her to be the sacrifice. That's not it.
She's so good in the movie.
She's probably the best she's ever been in Endgame, and some of her sequences, especially those with Cap, are so strong. When she's I guess in Japan or Hong Kong, I'm not even sure which one Ronan's in.
Yeah, he's fighting the Yakuza, so it's in Tokyo.
I guess it would have to be. But when she comes and gets him, I mean that's some tender stuff, and
like when they get to 2014 and they take off in the ship, and it's sort of the fun, that they get to have. That's really cool. I like that a lot.
Yes, I don't see the point of them sacrificing Black Widow in the movie.
Well, and it's not even a contractual thing because we know that she's going to come back for the prequel movie.
And then not only they use the exact same music cue, the exact same shot of her laying on the ground.
Stuff like them fighting over again, I think
fighting over who gets to die seems so contrived to me and something that would happen in a movie.
And exactly. I mean, she jumps off the ledge and he shoots her in the ankle with the grappling gun, and it's just kind of stupid.
Stop. I remember
it takes the drama out of the moment when somebody gets shot with a grappling gun to keep them from jumping off the mountain.
I'll be honest with you. When I was watching the movie, and this is bad because I know that big movie fans like us probably have these moments where you're being analytical as you watch the movie, and you're like, "Oh, I hope they don't do this."
Yeah, I was sort of thinking that the whole.
That was the whole time they were doing it, and I thought, and when I saw Hawkeye shoot the explosive arrow and knock her over, I thought, "Phew, we dodged a bullet there."
Yeah.
And then she still ended up being the one, and I thought, no, that doesn't actually feel right for the moment. I just that was one too many.
Not on a it doesn't feel right because it hurts my feelings way.
No,
this doesn't make any sense kind of way. They could have had their cake and eat it too. and I hate that she's not there in the final battle with the other original Avengers. You know,
why wouldn't she?
There's some
be there?
unevenness.
It seems,
but I mean, I think that again, if I could go back and fix it, I would say they both, the Soul Stone would be self-aware enough to realize that they were both willing to sacrifice themselves, and it would present itself to them, and the Red Skull would be like, oh my, and he would.
I hope he would do that too.
Yeah,
just like Death and Bill and Ted's Bogus Journey. That's all I can think of when I see Red Skull in the shroud. He's just Death. If you colored his face, white.
Yeah.
I'd walk out all the time.
Do not overlook my butt. Well, Sadler's been in the MCU. So
yep, Sadler's been there. But yeah, I have a different fix for it, and this is actually what I thought that I was being clever, and I thought I predicted the cool thing they were going to do in the movie, and they didn't, and this would have fixed it. Hawkeye walks forward, and he says, I'm ready to sacrifice whatever it takes, and Red Skull, looks, and he's like, oh my God, you've already lost everything, and you've lost it all. I can't. There's nothing I can take away from you anymore, and he gives him the stone.
Yeah,
and maybe even have Hawkeye look, and he's about to jump, look down and see his wife or see the shot, of his family, somebody laying on the ground down there as almost like a metaphysical manifestation of his loss.
Great.
I mean, it would have been deep, and you wouldn't have to kill off. I don't get it. Iron Man is enough to die at the end of the movie. That's enough. Why do we have to get rid of Black Widow too? I just don't. I don't see it.
If you're gonna have that many characters survive, if the idea is that it's a war and people are gonna die, more people should have died. If the idea is that
they should have died in the final battle,
exactly,
not just for a plot point.
Yeah,
I don't know.
If the idea is that somebody has to make a sacrifice, you don't have to have two characters do that.
Right.
I mean, it's sort of a repetitive.
That's
somebody is stealing the other's thunder if you do it like that.
That's the only thing that I'm gonna complain prominently about for the movie, and it's not horrible and it's not a deal breaker, but it felt wrong to me in the moment, and I wish it hadn't have.
And again, it sort of mars the final battle too, because it's like she should just sort of be.
Black Widow should be there in the final battle for sure. I mean, like easily, she should be there in the final battle. But getting to the final battle though. I think that I do have, one little nit about Thanos is it is a little tough to reconcile that Thanos, the deep kind of Thanos from Infinity War, introspective, spiritual even, Thanos who's on like this quest, that it's not the same Thanos in this movie that they fight. And it does take away a slight amount of gravitas from them fighting him.
It adds a little extra danger to me.
But it does.
Because you almost think that 2018 Thanos can be reasoned with,
Right. But 2014 Thanos is just like
just
nuts.
a madman. Is the mad titan.
Yeah, he's just crazy. I like all the stuff that they did with he's just an alternate, timeline version or an earlier version of Thanos. I think that's clever. But there is that one little part of me they kill Thanos at the beginning.
Is this too much of a cheat?
Really, and you keep wondering about that, but it works. Yeah, I think it works very well.
And again, if I'm trying desperately not to overthink it.
Sure.
I'm afraid if I overthink it more and more, I'm gonna be like, I'm gonna dislike more stuff. But it's an entertainment film. It's structurally speaking, it's not the tightest movie ever. It's not the tightest MCU movie or anything. It's too long to be that in a lot of ways. But again, like we said before, going back to it not being a standalone product, it doesn't really have to be to me. It's like it's like a series of vignettes almost, and not every single one of them could possibly satisfy you in that way.
I was shocked to find that for me personally, and that actually I didn't feel that it was too long at all for me. And for me, it just kind of felt like, it just seemed very, very tight the whole way through, that everything that needed to be there was there. The only thing might have been the Vormir stuff that we talked about earlier. That could have been trimmed down maybe slightly. But other than that, I felt like it was pretty tight, and it did not, to me, feel long. Like it felt like it felt like a 2-hour movie that was really 3 hours.
It certainly didn't feel 3 hours long. So that's
right. So that's something. Anyway, I think that everything. I think as soon as they can get past the time travel stuff, I think that the movie tightens up instantly.
Oh, for sure.
Like, as soon as they get back to Avengers headquarters and, you've got Hulk putting on the gauntlet, trying to, do the snap, which was awesome, by the way.
Incredible.
I didn't really see that happening, where he's saying, the gamma radiation comes off it, he can withstand it, he was born for it. I think those are all brilliant little beats in the movie. Thanos just literally bombs Avengers headquarters to cinder. I mean, just as soon as he gets there, and and everybody always says in these movies, why don't they
the bad guy just shoot everybody,
blow everybody up?
Yeah.
And then they just did it.
Yeah.
They literally just blow the whole thing up, and miraculously the Avengers
and
survive.
miraculously everybody survives.
I guess they are the Avengers. I guess they are pretty tough. So, but I loved the whole sequence of them trying to get up through the rubble. And all that stuff with Hawkeye chasing,
and a neat combination of characters, having Hulk and Ant-Man and Hawkeye and War Machine buried underneath. It was really cool.
And it feels so tense, man. Like, it really feels like they're in some serious danger. And you don't know how they're going to get out of it. And I just think that it sets it up beautifully. And Cap, full battle damage mode, and all that stuff. And I think that this goes probably without saying, but I'm going to say it anyway. The movie really focuses strongly on the three key classic Avengers: Thor, Iron Man, Captain America. And that is a gift to me, because honestly, I'm not really sure that any of the other Avengers movies did that.
No, not really.
I mean, not the way that I would have wanted it.
The first one focuses, I feel like, really heavily on the Hulk.
Yeah.
And then you have all the new characters in Hawkeye and Age of Ultron.
Right.
And then Thanos is the star of Infinity War. So,
that's right.
This is the first time that, let's take it. And to be fair, all those characters have their own trilogy of films.
Oh, sure.
To focus on them, and then, guest spots in other places too. So, but I mean, if you're distilling it down to the essence of the Avengers, as characters, who are you going to focus on? And then, of course, you have two of them that aren't going to be there anymore. One of them's dead, one of them's aged out of the business. So,
I think that some of the best shots of the movie is after Thor, transforms into powered up Thor at the end, and he's got the top knot and the crazy dreads and the glowing eyes, beard. And when they're walking around, like towards Thanos, they're all kind of getting in position. And the camera's like doing the tracking shot on the
sizing
feet,
everything up, and
like that's some real incredible moments.
Great stuff, man. That's some visual art. Right
it
there.
really is. And I think that it's in that moment I can sort of understand why that they did what they did with Thanos, because for this movie, Thanos can't
to be a remorseless killing machine,
and he has to take a dramatic backseat. Like Infinity War, he is the star of that movie. It's all about Thanos and his quest. You can't have that kind of Thanos in this movie, because that's already been done. You need one that's
because
just
there could potentially
instrument.
be a conflict of who you're rooting for.
Right.
You can't root. You can't identify with or root for Thanos in the slightest in this movie.
He has to be seen as like a force of evil.
Yeah, a 1980s cartoon supervillain.
And I like that, because this movie had to be about the Avengers. It couldn't just be about Thanos again. And I'm glad that it wasn't just another big Thanos quest. That had been done. The Infinity Quest was, done. And I feel like that was smart. The fighting at the end is spectacular. It's great. I think that everybody knows by now that the big crowd pleaser moment is when Cap finally wields Thor's hammer, and the great fake out, and then I knew it, which is so pleasing to me to see Thor be so happy for Cap, and and have the big moment where
his look in Age of Ultron wasn't out of concern; it was just out of inquisitiveness. He's been waiting for it forever.
I am part of the camp that believes that Cap was full well able to pick it up, but realized that he would just be showboating or making Thor look bad, so he quickly was like, I can't do it. But I think that he was always worthy.
Yeah, Well, if he was the least bit unworthy, he was worthy. In that moment, he was going to defend the universe,
And Cap's shield getting torn apart by Thanos is pretty frightening. At the end of the movie.
That's right in the comics too.
And you sort of, you're right. And you sort of realize in that moment, I think, that Captain America is pretty outmatched. Like in that battle, I think Iron Man and Thor are much better equipped to fight Thanos. And so I think it's great that the Russos were honest that, he just couldn't.
No, yeah. Well, what else was he going to do?
And that's why he's sure to get Mjolnir. And which was, I thought that was brilliant how Thor grabs Mjolnir from the Dark World. And he's like, I'm going to take this with me. Because why wouldn't you?
Well, yeah, exactly.
He misses that thing,
And and that's the point. He's still worthy.
Yeah, he's still worthy. He's still worthy.
No matter what happens.
It doesn't matter physically. He's still worthy. He's still Thor. He's the god of thunder. But I mean, just seeing Evans, wield the hammer, and he does this crazy pose.
He does the swing.
He's like,
from the,
he does the thing, and when he throws, I think what is it? He misses Thanos with a shield and throws the hammer and knocks it back down, and it comes back. I mean, it's crazy stuff. It's great. It's beautiful.
Fantastic. Yeah.
Absolutely beautiful.
Pure comic book bliss.
It was gold. Absolutely.
Think back to all those, endless nights playing Marvel Superheroes, the Capcom game.
Yep.
And mostly playing. I was either playing Captain America or Wolverine one.
Mm-hmm. Me too.
Just
those are my two go-tos.
That. I can't describe it. Just that feeling. That's what it was. Playing the game.
Stars and Stripes.
Total, elated, cathartic.
Oh yeah,
wish fulfillment.
Cathartic's the word.
Yeah.
And I think that, everybody said it was kind of. I've seen some people say it was sort of predictable. I didn't think it was predictable when Cap is standing there and you think he's just about to be, demolished by Thanos' army. And you're thinking, oh my God, he really is going to die. Because I kept thinking that he was, there was a good chance he was going to die. And I think everybody thought that. And you look down at his arm, and it's kind of hard to notice, but at least this is what I could see. It kind of looked like his arm was split open. And that's why he tightens the buckle to put it back together. He does the crazy bottom teeth thing from the trailers.
Over his mouth.
When I saw that in the trailer, I don't know about you, but I thought...
I knew.
I thought, oh my God, this is the last stand.
The final battle.
This is it, man. His face is like black from the soot, which is... Thank you, because yes, he was in an explosion and a building fell on him. So I think that's important that we reconcile that. But, the On Your Left, the portals scene where all the portals open up, and that piece of music that Silvestri did was incredible, man.
Let's not forget that Silvestri is the time travel king. I mean,
he is, isn't he?
Wrote the Back to the Future score, so who else to get?
Good point.
To do the Back.
I never even thought of that once to the whole movie.
That's how, man. That's what put his name on the map. I'm surprised they didn't reprise that just a little bit in the movie.
I bet that they wondered about it and decided not to.
Yeah.
I guarantee it. But
let's not upset Zemeckis.
The score for the movie is impeccable. I really think it's the best, maybe aside from the Black Panther score, or it is probably my favorite MCU score.
Well, it brings back all the old themes perfectly.
Oh yeah.
It undertones everything just so every beat is accentuated. Silvestri's been doing it for so long.
Oh yeah. He's an old pro. Man.
40 years basically. So he knows what he's doing, and he did the original. He did the first Avengers score. Right. So I mean, it's a good roundabout.
He did the first Avenger, and the first Avengers movie.
Yeah.
So I was super pleased with the music for the movie. But man, when all the heroes returned, I mean, I honestly thought, and I guess I wasn't giving the Russos or I wasn't giving the movie enough credit. I honestly believed that the heroes would just return at the end after they defeated Thanos and got them all back. I didn't actually think they would fight, and I guess I should have expected that they would.
I thought that there'd be a big
but man, honestly, I thought that they wouldn't have been able to have resisted showing some part of it in some kind of marketing.
Mm-hmm.
So I was pleasantly surprised.
I bet that all that wasn't digitally finished until just like a month before.
Yeah, about a month.
I mean, I think that they probably held off as long as they could just to make sure. And sure enough, we find out that all the actors have all these cell phone videos from them putting that scene together and everything. So it's a wonder none of it leaked.
It's just beautiful.
And look, we all knew everybody would be back.
Oh sure.
I mean,
that was never a question for me, But I mean, just the glory of it, the majesty of everybody coming back through was just... I don't think I was ready for it. It was great. It was just beautiful. And then Cap finally getting to say Avengers Assemble was a true moment to behold in the movie. So I couldn't have been any happier. I geeked out to the max.
Oh, yeah.
I was beside myself.
What's your favorite shot of the big battle?
Ooh, probably all the stuff. Anytime Giant Man.
I was gonna say Giant Man punching a Leviathan is the best.
When that happened, I usually am not this guy in the theater. Like I really contained myself.
But you went, whoa!
I really, when it happened, I said yes, and I was sort of like, oh god, I'm sorry, everybody, and I didn't.
Everybody else was doing it
and
too.
I mean, seriously,
sure.
I shouted something out, like I exclaimed something when he punched the Leviathan. I'm like, yes, Giant Man, and. That thrilled me, man.
Yo, man.
I mean, like, that was... And then the football scene, basically, I call it the football scene. when you know,
give it to me.
When you know, Black Panther is doing these crazy jumps and
Spider-Man swinging around and Captain Marvel's entrance when she blows up the mothership is incredible.
Like, whew, that was intense, man. When everybody's getting bombed, and Thanos gives the order after being almost torn apart by Scarlet Witch.
Yeah.
Just do it. You gotta put that on a Nike commercial. Just do it. I mean, Captain Marvel was great in the movie. Got a cool new haircut.
Yeah. It's one of those things where I guess that, I don't know if they were being reserved to. Maybe being reserved because they feel like she's too powerful in that group setting. Maybe being reserved because they weren't sure how her solo movie would play.
Right.
I wish she'd been in the movie more. I mean, really, when you see how well she plays in her film, it's kind of like, be nice if she was just around.
Well,
more.
I will say that I like how the movie found a way to kind of get rid of her in the final battle, because
there's so much else going on.
That great idea
out in space.
For Thanos, for the final battle, I love the idea that Thanos drops out the Power Stone real quick and just punches her with it. Because, yes, I do believe that she is the most powerful, of the heroes, but I don't think that any of the heroes could withstand a Power Stone punch.
Yeah.
I mean, if
it could kill Ronan the Accuser,
right?
Like that, then it can knock Captain Marvel out for a couple minutes.
It's going to knock her out.
Yeah.
I couldn't have seen anything coming together any better than Tony Stark's snap at the end of the movie. And they said that him saying "I am Iron Man" was like a last-minute addition, one of the very last things they filmed. Thank God for it, because I was sitting there with bated breath.
What else could he say? You know?
I'm inevitable. I'm Iron Man. Snap, and it was just great.
Oh, and Doctor Strange,
Yes. In some weird, strange way, that was one of my favorite pieces of performance. One of my favorite shots in the whole movie is Stephen Strange looking over, doing, if I tell you what happens, it won't happen.
I think we're pretty well. I think we gravitate towards the same characters.
Right. Doctor Strange is the big one.
Yeah. Yep. Big time. So I think that we're really simpatico on anything with Giant Man's awesome. Anything with Doctor Strange.
Anything with Doctor Strange is great. And Cumberbatch, man, everybody knows Cumberbatch is one of the greatest actors alive, but I don't think I ever could have really understood how great he would be at playing Doctor Strange. And you know what? I don't really
the
think
Russos are better at
He's much better.
Doctor Strange.
Yeah, I mean, seriously, Infinity War has shown me a sort of a different Doctor Strange. Matter of fact, Taika sort of did too.
Oh yeah.
And I liked these other versions, of Doctor Strange, where he seems more of like a sorcerer.
The only thing I would have liked more in Infinity War and Endgame was the yellow gloves. Ragnarok.
The Russos just aren't about it.
Yeah.
They broomed those things right away.
Oh well.
But
apparently they will be back.
They apparently will be back.
Too, so.
I like the yellow gloves.
I love it.
Bring them back, please.
If I have one tremendous hope for Phase 4 or Phase 5, I would like a straight up Bronze Age Defenders movie with Doctor Strange and Silver Surfer and Namor and the Hulk.
Yeah,
I think that's.
That'd be wonderful.
I would do in a heartbeat.
I would just love to see Namor at this point. That would be great. I hope they can get all that lined out with some of the legal issues, because I think he would have been here before now, if not for that. I think that the emotion for Iron Man in the movie, everything with Pepper, everything with his daughter Morgan, which was absolutely precious, and Robert Downey Jr. sold every one of those scenes. I mean, it's when Rhodey comes up to him, man, and I don't even think he says anything, and he just grabs his hand, as he's dying. Cheadle he brought his A game, man. Made me really sad.
Yeah, his best friend and his wife and his adopted son.
That's right.
Basically, her there.
Yes,
and it's heartbreaking.
It's a lot, man. When Pepper looks at him and tells him that everybody's okay, and that he can rest, and that everything's all right. And I think that if someone had pulled off Iron Man 2008 and shown me the scene where he says that he believed that it was the right thing to do because he feels it in his heart, I think I would have started crying profusely, because I remember, man, when I watched the original Iron Man and he gives that speech about doing what he felt like was the right thing to do. I was a huge Iron Man fan, as you know, for a whole lot of years before it was ever popular to be an Iron Man fan.
Big time.
And when he said that...
Somewhere, Jared has a life-sized bust drawing of Silver Centurion Iron Man from when we were in high school.
Yes, I do. I did it in art class for quite a few hours. But when he said that, man, I thought, this is a version of Iron Man that like I can believe in. You know, this has the key to the character right here.
I just finally know what I have to do. And I know in my heart that it's right.
I mean, it just lived up to it, man. Endgame lived up to it. The greatest...
The ultimate fulfilling of a promise, you
Yes.
know, for a character in long term ever, you know.
Iron Man was always about sacrificing what he believed, you know. It goes back to the cave. Everything goes back to the cave, which the trailers were, you know, great to do that, because basically he watches his friend, you know, get killed, sacrificing himself to do something that he thought was the right thing to do. And Tony Stark had never had a thought like that in his whole life. And that carries through all the way to Endgame. It's the fulfillment of the promise that he would also lay down his life someday. And I just,
good.
and I mean,
The greatest
beautiful.
good.
The greatest good of all, saving reality
Yeah,
itself.
exactly.
Because Thanos, that's where we get to Saturday morning again,
Yeah.
was going to literally wipe out the entire Earth and say that he would start over using the stones, and that is insanity.
Yeah.
It's megalomania. The Thanos before is
That's
like
some-
he's
that's
trying to do something
That's some
he thinks
Hordak
is good.
stuff, you know.
Yeah, but now he's in the fright zone.
Yeah.
DP Man reference. And then the funeral at the end was powerful.
Oh yeah.
I guess everybody was actually there too. All the actors were really there, according to the Russos. I mean, the music cues were fantastic. I couldn't have thought of anything better. But honestly, I guess we really need to address Captain America's exit, which was powerful, to say the least.
I was sure he would die. Like everybody was asking me, I was like, "Well, Iron Man and Captain America are going to die."
Yeah, they're
So that's the
goners.
only thing I can guarantee.
Right.
And sort of. I mean, Iron Man is dead and Captain America is out of the story.
Sidelined.
I don't think it's a case where Chris Evans is not going to be coming back in 5 years because they beg him to. I think he's pretty soundly done, just like Hugh Jackman. You know, he's had his tour of duty.
Right.
And that's it. But didn't expect that. I mean, I thought he'd die. I thought he would find his peace, but
I didn't think they'd do old
I didn't
Steve
think
Rogers.
they would do that.
No.
Yeah.
Which is something from the comics, you know, from a few years ago. But just, I think they had the most brilliant idea, which is, you know, send Cap back to put all these, you know, back in the right spot. And when Mackie, you know, walks up to him as Falcon, and he says, "Did something go really wrong, or did something go really right?" And I think it's so great because he's not sad. I think the performance was right in that moment. He's not sad at all. He's happy, you know, for him, because finally Captain America got a life, which is what Iron Man tells him that he needed to do.
Yeah.
And I don't know, man.
And he saw Iron Man do that too. You know,
That's right.
He saw how content Tony Stark was.
Yeah,
to
he
just
saw him
be off, and you know, I think part of that is him, you know, to honor his friend.
That's right.
You know, you know, I'm gonna do this for myself, what he wasn't able to do, and I want other people to be able to do this.
Right.
So.
I think it's beautiful, man. You know, are you gonna tell us about her? No. You know, and the old effect is incredible.
He's playing, you know, just for the couple minutes that he's there, old Chris Evans, makeup and CG or whatever it is, reminds me of early, older Eastwood, like Unforgiven era Eastwood.
I can see that for sure, absolutely.
What old makeup Evans
point.
makes me think of.
I mean, I think that Feige has left the door open for saying that in that alternate reality, which it is now confirmed to have been an alternate reality with Peggy, you know, the Peggy from the real 616 timeline, you know, really did never get to be with Steve or anything, but he went back to created an alternate reality where he got to be with her. But he said that there is, you know, he does believe that he was still Captain America in that alternate reality, you know, and still found a way to help people. And of course, he has a brand new shield with him, if you notice. So I think that he was still on duty.
He and Howard Stark and Peggy Carter were
still
fighting communists.
And Hank Pym was, you know, they were all together. They were the original Avengers.
The Avengers
in that
59, like in the Chaykin miniseries.
And I think that that's terrific. And if Evans ever did want to come back later in his career, he could.
Oh yeah.
As a 50-year-old guy or whatever, if he wanted to come back and do like what was Cap's last adventure like, and then do it, man.
Yeah.
Do it.
Have them fighting Robot, Arnim Zola,
Do
and
it.
stuff, and
Red Skull comes through a dimensional portal and fights him.
They can fight
Do it,
real.
man.
They can fight a more comic book than Von Strucker and stuff.
I'm all about it. I mean, I'm all about it.
They could, they could meet White Nick Fury in that alternate reality.
Yeah.
I'm just saying.
Yep. And I'm telling you right now, if they do it, that's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
But if they never do,
That's
it's
fine,
perfect
too.
the way it is. I'm a big fan of Sam getting to be the one that inherits the mantle, mostly because I like Anthony Mackie's performance a lot more than I do Sebastian Stan.
Yeah, as an actor, I like Mackie much more than Sebastian.
I
like Sebastian Stan.
He does a good job, but he doesn't get the same kind of charismatic material to work with. So it's not really his fault or anything. But, I am excited to see Mackie cut the check as Captain America. Cut the check. If you've not seen this, you need to look this up. Look up Anthony Mackie cut the check. It's one of the funniest things. But I think that is cool. I like it a lot. I think it's really neat that we're going to have an African-American Captain America.
Yep.
I think
kids need that.
They need that.
Absolutely.
I think Falcon has such a storied history with Captain America, much more than, say, Winter Soldier. Not as much as maybe Bucky, though, depending on what you look at.
Yeah, there's a perspective thing where...
I mean, there's another way to look at it.
Bucky, the character, has known Steve Rogers for, since the 40s, and they grew up together. But Falcon, the character, has been, Captain America's partner in the comics for, 45 years.
Yeah, Falcon has more comic book history, actually. So
they could just they could have Bernthal be Captain Punishment, after a Civil War in the comic
That'd be
books.
cool. Listen,
we're never gonna see those Defenders characters back.
I personally think
you mean those shows that aren't even set in the MCU?
They're not
really
set in the MCU. Yeah. I do believe that maybe we'll still see Bucky also be Captain America somehow.
It's
both of them will be. I don't know. It's possible. But I don't know. I hope we get maybe some more perspective on why Bucky doesn't even walk up to Cap or something, when he's sitting on the bench. It's kind of a little weird there, and I don't really know what that means exactly. But it almost seems like he had it. There was already a plan in place, or Cap had already talked to him about it.
Yeah.
I mean, it seems like he's acknowledging a plan there. I don't know.
I think it's a possibility.
But it's going to be cool though, and I don't know about this Disney Plus show, Falcon and Winter Soldier. Is it going to be set after? Is it set before?
Is it going to be renamed Captain America and the Winter
Captain
Soldier?
America and the Winter Soldier? Is that what it is?
It's got to be set after because they wouldn't be.
They wouldn't have been around. Yeah, they wouldn't have been around.
Bucky's in Wakanda the whole time.
So I mean, I don't know what they're going to do.
It may be the only one that's set after Endgame because it sounds like the rest of them are going to be ambiguous.
Loki, clearly the 2012 version of Loki, vanishes, and that's who's going to be the star of Disney Plus.
We can
very
guess.
smart on their part. Very smart to keep the actual Loki dead, and to have that mean something.
And Gamora too.
Yeah, and Gamora.
I don't think we could address every fine point of this movie with 3.5 hours.
There's so much here. There's things we didn't even begin to hit on.
So we better wrap it up, I guess.
Yeah, I guess you could talk about this movie forever and ever, but it's a very rewarding film. For me personally, it was the most
incredibly fulfilling,
satisfying, fulfilling movie of the entire MCU for me. I would watch it. I would watch it an infinite number of times. It is
14 million and
it is not
times Doctor Strange.
It is not a perfect movie, but I enjoy it just about more than about any other thing in the MCU. So that's my take.
Yeah, it's again structurally, it's not the soundest film, but it's so satisfying, and it's like a feast.
Yes.
I guess my favorite MC movie is always going to be Captain America: The First Avenger.
The First Avenger.
I can't.
Who can blame you?
I can't. I mean, if you talk about how Brandon make a movie exactly the way you'd make it, done. That's exactly the Captain America movie I would make. So.
Thanks to Endgame, Brandon, you finally get that last dance.
Yeah, exactly.
There could have been no finer way to have ended the movie. Really liked that on the end credits that that they didn't have an end credits scene, because if this is really the end of this era, there doesn't need to be a lead-in scene.
Finale, and I like the little Easter egg at the end.
Instead, all you get is a callback to the
start,
to the original start of it, forging the armor, which is haunting and beautiful at the same time. So I love it.
Yeah.
But guys, we've
big
thumbs up.
We'd say go see it, but everybody in the world
everybody's seen it. Everybody's grandma's seen it.
I hope so.
We appreciate you watching.
Very much so.
It's been our own little journey, I guess, over the years. We've
We've been doing this about as long as the MCU.
About as long as MCU. Yeah, we. I mean, some of our very first videos, like you were saying earlier, was about the Avengers.
The first movie.
First toys. Yeah. So, check those out. They're still on there.
Yeah.
But
blast from the past.
Guys, we appreciate it, and we thank you so much for watching. If you have any suggestions for any future videos, just let us know in the comments below. Anyway, you guys take care. God bless.
We appreciate you.
In all their centuries on Earth, nothing could have prepared them for the quickening.
Greetings, Highlander.
Christopher Lambert, Sean Connery.
Who knows, Highlander? Who knows?
Endgame.